Hi everyone, it's Karen from Karen's Quilts, Crows, and Cardinals blog and Redbird Quilt Co. here for our next installment of our 2016 Redbird Quilt Co. free motion quilt along. I hope you're enjoying all the lessons that we're sharing and all the progress that we're making on this wonderful loose balloon growth chart panel by the world of Susie B. The artist is Susie Bleasby. What a talented lady. Tonight we're going to stitch the bottom portion of our loose balloons growth chart. We have a little landscape area here at the bottom, and I'm sorry that I'm kind of changing my mind on what color thread to use. I laid out a couple different color threads this evening, and I shared a still picture over on Instagram and on Facebook, and the spring green 1231 kind of won out in the battle against the creme brulee color, the variegated color that I had suggested earlier in the quilt along that we would probably use. So I'm going to go with this spring green. It just seems like it's the color that talked to me tonight, that spoke to me. You can certainly use whatever color speaks to you as you're preparing to do your free motion quilting. But this is what I've decided to put in the bobbin and in the top thread. It's Aurifil 50 weight spring green 1231. So I've already got all my regular quilting notions on. I have a Supreme slider underneath. I have my my feed dogs are covered versus dropped. You can read more information about that in our introductory, our setup post on the quilt along. And I have my Machinger's gloves on that need a little bit of a washing. And I've got a 7511 needle in with my closed toe darning foot on here. And I've done a little bit of a test drive too. Where did I do with that? Let me show you. Usually when I haven't stitched in a few days and I'm going to sit down and start stitching, I'll go ahead and stitch just a little bit of a panel. Can you see that? I'm not sure you can. Now let me totally confuse the camera here and show you this. Whoop! That's Jenna. She was practicing too. There's some stitching that I did just a few minutes ago. The camera's focusing on that, I hope. But I just did a few little loop-de-loops to kind of get warmed up and get myself in the mood to start stitching. So let's get going. I'm going to start by bringing my bobbin thread to the top. Let's see. I'm going to go down right here in the ditch on the end of this landscape, and I'm going to do one cycle of my needle up and down, as we've covered in previous videos, to bring the bobbin thread to the top. And then I'm just going to go ahead and stitch in place right here to lock those stitches and put my needle in the down position and just kind of push things away. So I'm just going to follow the top portion of this landscaping with a little bit of sewing. I'm going to stitch right over top of the growth chart numbers. And I am going to do a little bit of kind of a grassy, squirrely, squiggly things here where the grass is sticking up into the background. And when I get over to the U, I'm going to actually come down around the bottom of the U because of the color thread that I have on. I don't want to stitch around in the background color with the spring green on my the thread that I've chosen. When I get down here to the bottom of the U, I'm going to kind of follow along this little patch of grass and kind of go along these flowers a little bit. I haven't practiced this, so you guys are just seeing live kind of how my mind thinks and when I go through things. I'm going to go back around it though on a tiny little echo stitch so that I can pick up the U's legs and get them all stitched in. I'm not trying to be really accurate here, and I'm going to do some backtracking or sneaking around, as we call it. I don't have my normal setup here. I'm here at home, and unfortunately my table setup is not as nice as the setup that I have at the cottage. So I'm going to be battling with my quilt sandwich a little bit, which I recommend you don't do if you don't have to. If you can have everything flush and your quilt top laid out, I would always recommend that. But as you can see, I'm kind of just working my way around the perimeter of the U, and I'm going up and down between their legs and around the little patch of grass that's down there. I'm trying to stretch my quilt top out as I go because we haven't done any quilting down in here, so we've got quite a bit of loft to work with. I'm just going to keep going here, and while I'm right in this area, I'm going to go ahead and pick up this other little flower and just stitch around the perimeter of it. Again, it doesn't need to be perfect. No one's going to scrutinize this when you're done. now I'm gonna go back up around the other side of this U. Let's see where I'm at. Whoop. And go around his little, between his ear and his face. Just kind of go around the perimeter of that there. Go around the other ear, and then back up to the landscape area again. Stitch those little pieces of grass. Move over a little bit. It's a little bit wonky there, but it's not going to matter. No one's going to scrutinize this to that extent. So I'm just going to keep moving along here, doing a little bit of this grass. I'm going to go around and echo stitch just once the outline of these beautiful little daisies that are growing. If I don't stitch them, they're kind of going to be flat. So we're just going to stitch them, kind of rough them in a little bit. We do have a little Susie B here that we're going to need to stitch eventually too. So we'll see if we can work our way into the little Susie B. I'm going to make my way around the other little daisy that's here. Some darling little flowers. Okay. And then I'm back to the landscape. Are you still with me? I think you are. Great. Let's keep going. Now when we get over here to this side, we're not going to want to go on the outside of the U because, again, we don't have the right color thread in for that. So I'm going to stick to the inside, into the grassy area. Just kind of cover the U. Go around the outside of them. When I get down here to the bottom, I think I'm going to follow the path of the green patch of grass again, like I did before, and then come back around and catch their legs afterward. And I'm stretching my fabric here up into the U area so that I don't end up with a pucker down here. And trying to stay out of the way of the camera too. It's all a little bit tricky. I'm going to go up to the right side of the U. Whoops, can't see where I'm going. A little bit down into the landscape, but then I'm going to backtrack because I want to go back through and get the legs around the U. Alright, so now I'm going back through, just kind of stitching around the legs, and I'm not being very detailed with it. I'm just roughing it in. I'm not going to go back and rip out any stitches because this is our practice piece. This is our learning to free motion quilt piece, and it's going to be beautiful when we're done. So, alright, I'm getting the legs all stitched here. I'm going to get over here and go back to the bottom of this kind of patch of grass. I think what I want to do is make my way. There's another little coloration here. It's going to allow me to make my way over to the daisies. I'm just going to kind of do a rough little jiggle over to that and then kind of echo stitch these daisies. Let's do that. And while I'm here, I'm going to pick back up that little bit of piece of the landscape that's there. Alright. Echo around this other daisy. And again, I'm not worrying about too awful much being perfect here. You're roughing it in, you're just giving it a little bit of a texture. You're going to maybe have to do a little bit of backtracking here. Let's see where we're at. I want to remove this pin now before it gives me a hard time. Let's do that. Okay, now as you can see, I'm kind of bunched up here with my fabric in the back, but I think I'm just going to sneak around this little flower now and kind of make my way over here to this more lighter color section of the panel. So I'm going to backtrack kind of where I've already stitched, sneaking around on stitches that I've already stitched, and I'm going to get to this green color and just kind of follow it down. Let me adjust my quilt top a little bit. I'm kind of brute forcing my quilt top because I don't have it laid out flat. I'm just not in the ideal layout here. Sneaking my way up to this green a little bit, down into the yellow. Just kind of doing a little bit of a grassy pattern here. Making my way over to the other daisy. We might want to go through when the video is done and kind of fill in when we fill in around the bee that's in this section. We might want to fill in a little bit more grassy areas, kind of jump in there, and do a few more blades of grass to kind of give just something to look at, some little dimension. I'm going to go ahead and get this pin out of the way. again while I have a chance. My quilt top is falling down off my table a little bit. That's always the most frustrating thing. I highly recommend that you have a setup that you don't need to do that. Have to worry about your quilt top falling away. But I'm going to make my way down into this lower part and kind of backtrack a little bit because of that, the way that yellow line kind of feeds along the bottom of our border. And there we go. I'm on the last little daisy here. Let's give him a little outline. Let's see now, where are we going to go? I think I'm going to work to the outside, back in again. Maybe not. Might have to do a little bit of backtracking here and there, but that's okay. We've got this great RFL 50 weight thread on. It doesn't really give you a hard time. It doesn't actually add a lot of buildup to things. It's very fine, and that's kind of a very nice bonus when you're quilting with the RFL thread. If you have on some of the heavier weight threads, it can get kind of hard to repeat your stitches and stitch over top of your previously done stitches. So that's what I've got for now. I think I still do want to, excuse my hand while I get my quilt top rolled up here. I think I might want to sneak back up and just kind of do this little bit of a line right here and maybe sneak up the side and go back across the landscape in that other area where the colors change. It's a beautiful landscape line, so we probably should take advantage of that. The main thing now is just to figure out the best way to get there, if I should sneak around or if I should just trim my threads, jump up there and do that stitching. And it looks like to me that's probably what I should do. I'll trim my threads here, I'll stop, take a couple lock stitches, trim my threads, and then I'll jump up to that other daisy and kind of work my way out and then back in again. And the other thing I'm going to do with this color is I'm going to jump over to the small little bee. Let me just trim my threads now so I can show you what I'm thinking. Don't forget to trim your bobbin so you don't waste your bobbin thread. But I think I'm going to start over here. Now, can you see this? Oops, I apologize. Let's get back here. I'm going to start over here by this little daisy and work my way out. Then I'm going to climb up the ditch over here on this left side and then work my way back in again. Probably sneak around the U again over here to the other daisies on the other side that I missed. And then I'm going to go ahead and stitch that bee with our pebble pattern that we always do down the trailer line of Susie B. I'm going to do the pebble pattern and maybe echo stitch the bee a couple times. So that's really my plan. I hope this kind of little journey is helpful to you. Don't worry about being a perfectionist in this area. It's landscape, it's nature, it's beautiful. We don't have to be perfect about what we're stitching with it. So just have fun with it. Add a couple little extra blades of grass. If you want to make a kind of a ghost stitching, you could always ghost stitch some extra little daisies. And what I mean by that is just kind of stitching a daisy out of nowhere, kind of mimicking a daisy that already exists and kind of jumping over to the right and stitching another one that looks just like it, even though it's not showing in the pattern. That's kind of what we refer to as ghost stitching. So think about doing that in this area. And then later on, when we have the background color on, or maybe our dove color, we're going to come in here and do a little bit of stitching between the U, so there's not such a large space where the U are not stitched. We might want to do some little swirlies inside of these U with the black color on and the dove color on, and maybe outline their eyes and their inside ears, and in the ears that are inside of the body here, so that it gives them a little bit of texture. So I'm going to sign off for now, and the next time I pick up, I'll show you some still images of how I finished this area. But I do want to pick up and do a little bit of stitching in this lesson in the background fabric, which I've done a couple test runs on that on a practice sandwich, and I want to share a little bit of that with you and show you how the background's going to get, what my idea anyhow of how I'm going to stitch the background is. So if you have any questions, please leave them on the YouTube videos or on the blog post. And remember, we're only a couple of lessons away from linking up our finished projects, sharing your photos, and being eligible for the awesome giveaways that we have from our very generous sponsors. So So I hope you're keeping up, and if not, reach out to me so I can help you get along your way. Okay, this is Karen's Quilts, Crows, and Cardinals blog, Karen Miller from Redbird Quilt Co. signing off for now. Have a great night. Thank you.